Welcome in here to another VSiN at the Track presented by First Bet Racing. I am Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman. And Aaron, it's almost like a holiday in the horse racing world because Keeneland is back, and it is an absolutely loaded weekend there in Kentucky. We've got stakes races on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday. We got Breeders' Cup Winning You're In. We got 2-year-olds. We got turf. We got a little bit of everything. Are you excited for some Keeneland action?
I'm very excited. Yes, the energy level is up because Keeneland is back, right? It's one of those few tracks, right? Saratoga, we always get excited about when it opens. Kentucky Downs has kind of been that way because it's such a short meet, and Keeneland certainly falls in there as well. Yeah, great to have it back. Great racetrack, great racing, like you correctly pointed out. A lot of Breeders' Cup action. Just a great place overall to visit. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. Always fun racing. Payouts usually are pretty good there as well on the gambling side of things. So, yeah, should be very, very exciting.
Yeah, I love these boutique meets. You mentioned Saratoga, there's Del Mar, and then we got Keeneland. You know, jumping in there twice a year, always a fun meet, always good racing, and it races that a lot of the trainers and owners point to as well. So you can get some prices home because this has been the goal for a while for some of these specific horses. We'll talk about a lot of those Keeneland races that are coming up over this weekend as we preview some of the major stakes races over the weekend. We'll also talk a little about Rebels Romance, who came over and dominated in the Joe Hirsch. That was a pretty good race for us, had the triple there, as well as Bob Baffert and him just kind of showing off the stable there in California. We'll hit on Mystik Dan, our favorite horse, who got a W, and then, of course, talk about the best bets, as well as, this is kind of exciting, we've got the Breeders' Cup Classic odds on a U.S. sportsbook for the first time, so we'll hit that at the end of the show as well. Make sure you stick around for all of that action. But, Aaron, we got to start out here with Rebels Romance and what we saw from him in the Joe Hirsch. Just dominated that race. Interesting run race where he kind of takes the lead earlier than I think we both expected, but able to essentially just show why he is probably the best turf horse in the world right now, especially going long.
Yeah, it felt like about halfway, maybe a quarter of the way through the race, I just kind of decided, oh, he's in another class, just like by himself, just let him go out there and run his own race. And that's what they did. And yeah, I was surprised for sure when he took the lead that early into the race. But it wasn't like he was rushing up there or out of control. He just kind of took the lead and said, okay, I'm kind of done messing with these other horses. He's such a classy horse, such a cool horse. Look, I don't know if he'll win his third Breeders' Cup in 4 years, but I know he's ready to run a big race there, and it's going to take a really good horse to beat him. So it was a really good race for him. Really exactly what you wanted to see. He is one of those rare European horses, and you really don't see it a lot, that he does have a really nice early turn of foot. Now, maybe he's not going to take a field gate to wire. He's never too far back, though. He's going to sit third or fourth in a normal field and get the job done. So, really loved it. Great effort from him. Very solid. I thought, redistricting, a horse that you liked and a horse that we talked a lot about, I thought he ran pretty darn well in that race, just in another class, Rebels Romance.
Yeah, I'm surprised redistricting gave up the lead first time through the stretch there. I thought that his best chance would have been to be out front. We mentioned El Dorbles. He ends up running third in that spot. Rebels Romance is going to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Turf. You mentioned he's won this race twice before. What do you think the off odds on Rebel Romance will be after this performance?
He's been decent enough odds. He's been shorter, but decent enough the last two that he won. I would have to think this may be very low now. The only thing where I'm not going to say it's going to be just crazy low yet is we don't know what other European runners might come over. But as of right now, I got to think 7 or 8 to 5 is probably where he's going to land. And if no European runners kind of come over, or maybe some of the weaker ones, he might get lower than that. I think it's all going to depend on what other horses. And I think it's going to be very interesting. This is a race that's usually loaded with European runners. If you don't see very many, that is a very good sign that those European trainers have said, you know what, let's not go test him there. Let's just stay home and do other things. So long answer, though, to the question, probably 7 to 5.
I'm bummed. I like the days when we got Rebel Romance at 5-2. I don't think that's going to happen. I agree with you. I think we're looking at sub-even money on Rebels Romance. Another big story over the weekend, Bob Baffert and what he was able to do at Santa Anita. Gets a win with Imagination, gets a win with Cavalieri, and gets a win with Nevada Beach as well, the one that we gave out on the show. Who was most impressive of the Baffert trio that got big wins over the weekend?
I got to give props to you 100% for picking Nevada Beach. He was able to wear down full Serrano. You said, hey, I'm not sure about 1 1/8 miles. You were spot on. And to answer your question, I think he was the most impressive coming off of a layoff. And I know Imagination and Cavalieri were coming off similar layoffs, but I thought Nevada Beach ran very well because here's the deal. Full Serrano, while maybe not brilliant in that race, he still was very good. They were clear of everybody else by quite a bit. Nevada Beach, if he doesn't run a big race, we're sitting here today going, well, Full Serrano, he kind of did what he should have done, right? He didn't do it because Nevada Beach just ran that well. So most impressive for me was Nevada Beach. I thought, but here's the problem, right? He's going now to the Breeders' Cup Classic, the toughest race of the three. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he was really impressive, but he has to get even better to compete in that race.
Yeah, he is one of those horses that did pop up on the U.S. odds board, so we'll talk about him a little bit later. I thought Nevada Beach was awesome. I love the 8-1 price on him as well. But I thought Cavalieri was the most impressive of the three. If you go back and you watch the race, she broke terribly in that race. When I watched it live, I was like, oh, her race is over. There's no way that she's going to be able to come back and win. And she didn't just win. She won pretty easily. Like, we were coming down the lane, and I'm like, oh, she's gone. Like, no one's catching Cavalieri here. So I thought that was the most impressive Baffert of the weekend. What did you think of Cavalieri's performance?
Yeah, very good. I was with you as well. Broke poorly, and the horse that does like to be towards the front. I thought it was very good job by the rider, and just a very good job by the horse, really, to not get discouraged. A lot of times you see a horse that's got some speed and they break that poorly. They rush up and they get to the front, but they've used up all the energy. They just kind of slowly progressed around the track, getting in better position with every stride, but in control. So I thought that was really impressive as well. And like I said, with the distaff look, if she moves forward off that effort, she's right there where she's got a chance, right? So, yeah, I thought she was impressive. Listen, Imagination was pretty impressive as well. I mean, I hadn't seen that horse I'd forgotten about Imagination. I don't really think 6 furlongs is what he really wants to do, and he just crushed him in that field as well. So all these Bafferts just ran off the screen, really.
Over or under 1.5 Baffert winners at the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, it's a tough question because kind of the theme of Baffert the last really this year is we win these races here at Santa Anita or the smaller fields at Del Mar, and then we get up against better competition, and they haven't been winning. I'll go the juveniles. I don't know about that one yet. I would go under 1.5.
See, I feel like you have to make it 1.5 because it's likely he wins one of the two juvenile races. And then the question is, can he find a way to get to another victory on one of the 2 days there at the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar this year? Advantage for him being at Del Mar as well. If this was at Keeneland, if this was somewhere else, I would be definitely on the under. But I think 1.5, a pretty good line as we move forward with Bob Baffert's heading to the Breeders' Cup. One more horse heading to the Breeders' Cup, one that, let's be honest, we've not given much flowers on this show in the past. Mystik Dan gets the job done at Churchill Downs. Found his friends, Aaron. I think that's really the best way to put this. We've always talked about him in these fields and saying, look, he's going to get bet, but he's a cut below these horses. I don't think he was a cut below on Saturday, and I kind of wish we just played him, tried to beat him, tried to find prices, but I thought he was impressive in the win. I think it's a good thing he is going to the Breeders' Cup Mile, not the Breeders' Cup Classic, because zero chance he was winning the Classic.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that the smart decision going to the Breeders' Cup Mile after this, I thought he ran very well in this race. And look, you're right. It's not a horse we bet very often. I will say this about him. I thought he was going to be put with a long list of recent horses that have won the Kentucky Derby and then just done nothing afterwards. Give him credit and give Kenny McPeek credit. He came back. He looked terrible after the Derby for 3 or 4 starts. He's back. And look, whatever talent level you think he's at, he's in good form. He's running every time, and he's winning when he finds races like this. So you got to give McPeek and the horse a lot of credit for being able to be a serviceable horse. I still don't think he's a great horse, but he's a good horse after the Derby. So that good on him. I didn't bet him. Like I said, if you watch the show, you know that. But I also can, give him his flowers and say, look, he ran very well. There was nothing wrong at all with how he ran. Look, he had to beat Disarm, and he was able to do that. A couple of the other horses we thought might run well just didn't run all that well, and he's able to get the job done. He's turned into a nice, consistent horse. Grade
2, grade 3 level. That's kind of where I think he fits. When he jumps up to that grade 1 competition, the waters are a little bit too deep for him. But grade 2, grade 3s, I think he makes sense. Probably not a horse I'm going to bet a ton, just a spoiler alert, because the price is always going to be lower than what I necessarily think he should be. But you do have to give him respect that he is due at this point. Now, before we jump into Keeneland, I want to talk a little bit about Kentucky Downs, because when you go through the Keeneland PPs, you're going to see a lot of Kentucky Downs races. And I found it as one of those things where I think I have a strategy as to what Kentucky Downs horses I want to play versus not want to play, but I wanted to run it by you before I kind of went through that. What's your strategy on some of these Kentucky Downs horses, and how are you trying to decipher the ones that you want to put on tickets versus leave off tickets?
Well, I always treat it the same, so I'm curious to hear kind of your theory on it. But for me, it's like I don't even look at it, and then I look at the races previous and handicap it that way. Now, if it's a 2-year-old, that's a little bit different because you don't have a long list of races. But a lot of these horses that have experience, I just kind of look at, okay, what did they do, say, at Churchill or Keeneland? And then you look at the Kentucky Downs race, you go, well, if they moved way up, well, it's probably just because they loved Kentucky Downs. And if they moved way down, they hated it. So if they run, kind of consistent numbers, then maybe you can use it as a little bit more of a data point. But I just kind of tend to ignore Kentucky Downs on the past performances.
I am looking for horses that closed ground, and I'm upgrading them slightly. Because we saw Kentucky Downs be such a speed-favoring track over the meet this year, there are horses that when you go through the PPs were shorter prices, that were, let's say, in 9th or 10th in their race, and they ended up running 5th or 4th, and it doesn't look great on paper, and all of a sudden you're seeing them at 15-1 instead of 2-1 like they were at Kentucky Downs. Those are the type of horses that I want to target, because I do think there was a pretty heavy bias towards speed at that track and during that meet. And if that's the case, I want to look for the horses that were against the bias to see if I can somehow find a way to get some prices home with horses that the last effort doesn't look great, but when you take into account what that track was like, I think it does look a little bit better than necessarily it is on paper.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be first, second, or third, basically, and you had to be on the inside 3 or 4 lanes of the track 99% of the time. Yeah, I mean, it's a good strategy. You could also say, hey, here's a horse that I didn't think was very good, and he won, or he or she won, and then you look at the past performances, oh, they went gate to wire. Well, okay. You know what I mean? So you could work it both ways. Again, though, it always seems like it's something with that track.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's always some kind of bias or some kind of weird thing, and that's just why I still just don't really look at it much when it comes to, like, I was looking when we were I was handicapping for the First Lady that we're going to talk about a little bit later. There's some Kentucky Downs horses there, and I was just, okay, yeah, toss that. I'm not even looking at that, so.
Yeah, I wanted to put the hypothesis out in the world just in case it comes to fruition this weekend. So I'll keep an eye on those closers at Kentucky Downs, see how they do in these races. Maybe absolutely nothing, but it might be something. And if Friday and Saturday we see these horses coming from Kentucky Downs that closed but didn't win, all of a sudden do well at Keeneland, I think that is something that you can kind of look at moving forward. If you're looking for more angles like that around either the sports or the horse racing markets, make sure you head over to VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. You can try your first month as a VSiN Pro for just $9.99, or check out all of the other subscription options that are offered over there at VSiN.com/subscribe. All right, now let's jump into our stakes races for the weekend. We're going to cover 4 of them before we get to our best bets. So we're going to start off with the Grade 1 Coolmore Turf Mile here from Keeneland, race number 10 on Saturday. Morning lines presented by FirstBet.com, and I thought this was a fascinating race. You've got a European shipper in Diego Velasquez who is coming over here. We've got some of the horses that we've seen dominate a mile, including Donegal Momentum. We've got Howard Wallowitz, one of those horses that's coming from Kentucky Downs that not really sure what to do with. We got some other European shippers in here as well. And it's nice because there's 12 horses that are expected at postword, and we've got a 7-2 favorite in the number 4, Diego Velasquez. Are you going with Diego, or are you going elsewhere?
Yeah, I've been waiting to bet Diego Velasquez here in the United States for a while, so I do have to go with him on top. I will talk about a few long shots after the the top picks here, but yeah, look, Diego Velasquez shipped over here last year, was going to run in the Breeders' Cup, and then had to scratch, and so it was kind of disappointing. I really thought he was the winner of the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. Since coming over and then having to scratch this year, 2 out of 3 wins so far this year. A Group 1 win last time out. I love this horse. I've been waiting to play him. He's 6 of 11 lifetime. He's won 4 out of the last 5. He's a very, very nice horse for Aidan O'Brien. So I did put Diego Velasquez on top because, like I said, I've been waiting 2 years. He was rumored to come over as a 2-year-old, and he didn't. And then last year, like I said, he did, and then had to scratch. So he's on top for me. I think he is a world-class type of horse. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Will he, kind of adapt to the American style of racing? That's still the big question mark.
I don't think we get anywhere near 7-2. And I have
No.
Diego Velasquez on top as well. And you mentioned it. Like, I wanted to bet this horse last year at the Breeders' Cup. He has to scratch out. He was going to be a single for me in a lot of the pickaxe sequences because I was that impressed watching those European races. Now you've got him shipping over here in what is clearly a prep for the Breeders' Cup. I love the idea of getting a race into him. Obviously, a pretty valuable race here, $1.25 million at Keeneland. I wish that we shipped a jockey and it wasn't the Tory, but at the same time, I do think that Diego Velasquez is the class of the field here. So 7-2 on top for me here on the number 4, Diego Velasquez. Who are the long shots that you want to talk about here? Let's see if we landed on the same ones.
Yeah, you talked about Donegal Momentum right off the top, and that is one that I'm looking at as a long shot that makes a little bit of sense. Coming off of a win last time out in a much easier race, one at this distance, 3 races back in the poker, which I thought that was a pretty decent race for a Grade 3 event there at Saratoga. Look, I think at the best, this horse, at his best, I should say, this horse is pretty darn good. Love the speed as well. If this horse gets out of the gate and gets to the front, I think Donegal Momentum can take him a long way. You talked about Kentucky Downs playing to speed. We don't know yet, but usually this turf course at Keeneland is pretty speed friendly. Like I said, you can't really say that yet, but over the years when you look back, speed's been very good. So Donegal Momentum at 12-1 made a lot of sense to me as a horse that could take him a long ways in this one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out from a pace perspective because Donegal Momentum, the 2 best races are gate to wire, right? The last one in the Berard Baruch and the Grade 3 poker that you mentioned, both of those were good setups for this horse who got to go 24 and change in the first quarter. I don't think 24 and change happens. I think that the 2 Quattro Centro goes. I think the 3 Howard Wallowitz is probably going to be forwardly placed as well. And that makes me want to kind of look towards some of these horses that can sit a trip right behind the speed. I'd love to know what you think of number 9, Rhetorical here. 8-1 on the morning line. This is a horse that's out of the William Walden barn, who is one of those trainers I don't think gets enough love as he probably should. Irad rides this horse for the 5th time in 6 career starts. The horse is 4 for 5. Been facing State Bred Company, and so I think a lot of people are going to kind of overlook this horse because it's State Bred New York versus Open Company and Graded Stakes Company, so clearly a step up. But I think the pace sets up well here, has tactical speed, so should be forward early, but should still have a kick late. I think the 9 Rhetorical a little bit interesting at a price here.
Yeah, I've singled him in back-to-back races up at Saratoga. He ran an allowance race, and then he ran in the West Point State-bred stakes race. Singled it both times, right? So I love Rhetorical. This is obviously very tough to go now to a Grade 1 Open Company race. You know who he reminds me of a little bit, Mike? Spirit of St. Louis.
Spirit of St. Louis. Yep. Yeah,
right?
That was actually what I was thinking of when I was looking at this horse.
And when he first tried this, I thought, this is crazy. And he ran okay, and he kept running a little better. And then, boom, he pops and wins a couple of Grade 1 races. So we'll see. But, yeah, he does kind of remind me of that. I'm not going to talk anybody off trying to play number 9 Rhetorical. I think he makes a ton of sense in this race. I think the 10 Brilliant Birdie is another 8-1 shot that makes sense in this race. You talked about the pace and the situation that could come up with the pace. This is kind of one his best races will sit right off the pace. So I thought 10 Brilliant Birdie made sense as well. Winner of the Wise Dan at Churchill Downs 2 races back. That was a Grade 2 event. A horse that did close ground like you kind of wanted at Kentucky Downs did do that. Was 12th for some reason, just didn't break very well and got 4th. So Brilliant Birdie was one that made sense to me as well as a longer price. Did you like that one at all?
I did. I was a little interested in Brilliant Birdie. I think Mercante a little interesting as well at 20-1. Kind of feels forgotten after running very well earlier in the year, but then the last 2 races not quite as good. But one of them was a 1.5 miles at Kentucky Downs, so kind of willing to draw a line through that. The other was off a layoff. So the 6-20-1 I think is a little bit interesting. What about the 12 horse, John Quill, who ships over for Andrew Balding, who has done this 3 times the last 5 years. He's 2 for 3 when making this ship. And if you go back in the past performances, you see some very good European horses, including Henry Matisse, who I know we're both very high on, ran second to that horse, just missing by a head in a Group 1 over in Europe. You get 15-1 on the 12 John Quill. Any interest?
Absolutely. This is kind of, like you said, the other European runner coming over here, and those horses can sometimes really surprise. Look, I think, good form too, winning last time out. So, has a win last time out, has a work at Keeneland, did have record a workout on September 30th. So I thought that was good to see as well. Juddmonte Farms, breeder and owners, we see those silks in the winner's circle quite a bit here in the United States.
Okay.
So yeah, no, look, I get it. I think it's another one that makes total sense in this spot. There's no holes you can really poke in this horse, and we're getting 15-1. Yeah, that's another one I had wrote down as well that makes a lot of sense. I don't think this horse is as good as Diego Velasquez. Well, let's pretend Dettori gives a bad ride, right? Which could happen, or let's pretend more likely than Dettori giving a bad ride. But Diego Velasquez, like a lot of European horses, they get over here and they don't like it very well.
Mm-hmm.
John Quill all of a sudden becomes the classiest horse in the race that is actually firing, right? So, yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So the Diego Velasquez, the 4 for both Aaron and I here, but interest in some prices underneath and around. Not a single for me in this spot because it is first time in the U.S., but it is an interesting race. I think you can go price hunting underneath Diego Velasquez if you like him on top. Let's move one race prior on the Saturday card here. We got the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity race number 9 Saturday at Keeneland, mile and a 16th over the dirt course. And we've got a big 3 in this race. Let's just put it that way. The number 2, Big Dom, 4-1 on the first bet morning line. The number 6, Ted Nafi, 4-5 on the morning line off the Grade 1 hopeful win there at Saratoga. And the number 7, Ewing, 9-2 on the morning line. Everybody else, 8-1 or higher here. Are you going to one of the big 3, or are you going a little bit further down the board?
I almost went against the big 3. I'll tell you that horse first, but I did end up putting the number 6, Ted Nafi, on top. The problem I had, and where I just couldn't quite go against him, the hopeful that he won last time out going 7 furlongs, that last stretch of 100, 200 yards, let's say, he just took off, Somich.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you look at this and go, man, I think stretching out this horse may be even better. It looked like he was just getting going at the wire, going 7 furlongs. Now we get a mile and a 16th. I just couldn't get away from it. So I put Ted Nafi on top. I'll tell you this, though, the number 1 blackout time, I'm very interested in as well. Believe it or not, and I don't hate the number 2 Big Dom or the number 7 Ewing, but I'm going to put blackout time in second here and almost put him on top. This is a Kenny McPeek runner that really improved second out right there at Ellis Park, going a mile. Now we get a mile and a 16th. This horse won by almost 10 lengths. This just had the feel to me of a Kenny McPeek runner that's getting ready to run a really nice race. So I like the number 1 blackout time a little bit, but I couldn't go against number 6, Ted Nafi, on top.
Yeah, we saw this one pretty similarly. Ted Nafi, son of Into Mischief, so the distance really should not be an issue, old-fashioned on the bottom side. And you mentioned the last portion of that hopeful was just so darn impressive. Has the ability to be forward, but can also pass horses. We saw that on debut. I think that absolutely matters in a race that has quite a bit of speed, as you would expect for 2-year-olds that are making their, first, their second, third, fourth career start. I do think the 1 blackout time is really interesting from a price perspective. And my idea when betting this race is, I need to get past one of the big 3 if I want to try and make any money here. And to me, the one that I want to throw out here is the number 7 Ewing. I thought the debut was impressive, but there hasn't been that much that came back out of that debut that was all that great. Runs in the Saratoga Special. We saw Obliteration not come back at the level that I think both of us expected. And I'm not sure the added distance is going to be a great thing. So Sire's Knicks Go, who did win going long, so not a big issue there, but I'm just not sure that we have the pedigree at this early age to be able to stretch out to 2 turns for the number 7 horse Ewing here, who I do think probably is the most speed dependent in this race. I think Ewing has to get the lead and hope that you can just kind of keep going with it. Big Dom has enough speed to be a very big problem and has the inside post here going a mile and 16th on the short stretch at Keeneland as well. So of the 3 big ones, I'm going to throw out the number 7 Ewing. I do like this Ted Nafi on top. So I just decided I'm going to play a trifecta here and just go 6 with 1-2 with 1-2 and put those 2 in the second and third spots. Hopefully the 1 gets second, boost that price up a little bit for me. Not going crazy here because, again, Ted Nafi 4-5. But at the same time, I do think because the 1 blackout time's 10-1 and not one of the big 3 here, you can find a way to try and inject a little bit of price into the triple.
It's funny because you're right. We do see this very much alike, only I chose the 7 over the 2. So I'm at 6, 1, 7, 1, 7 if I was going to play a try in this race. I want to expand on Ewing because, at Saratoga, and I know you're the same way as I, when there's that debuting horse, you get a million text messages if one is getting a lot of hype. And that was, my phone just blew up that morning. It's like, okay, let's see. And half the time they run horrible, and then half the time they do what Ewing did, and they run off the screen. And he ran tremendous. That debut was tremendous. I was so excited to watch Obliteration, who ran tremendous as well, face off against Ewing in that Saratoga Special. That race sucked. They were horrible in that race. They were so slow. They were the slowest 6.5 furlong time the whole weekend at Saratoga.
Mm-hmm.
It was an awful race. Obliteration ran awful. Ewing won, and it's like, oh, it was gross. I don't know what happened. I know maybe I'm like over saying it, right? But Ted Noffey debuted.
It's pretty accurate.
Ted Noffey debuted like 1 or 2 races before the Ewing Obliteration Saratoga Special and ran like a second faster. And that was his first ever race. I don't know what happened, but I'm going to tell you right now, Ewing is not. I mean, Ewing has a lot more talent than what he showed in that second race of his. I'm with you. I don't really know if a mile and 16th is going to help or hurt him. I'm kind of with you. He didn't really look like a horse last time out that wants to go a mile and 16th. I know this horse is better than that, right? And look, we're saying all this negative stuff. He won a grade 2 race at Saratoga. Yeah, it didn't come back like we wanted. He still won it. I think we're going to see a lot better version of him here. So I stuck with Ewing over Big Dom. I don't have anything against Big Dom, but I'm with you. As a gambler, you got to choose one or the other, right? I can't just go 6-2-7 here. It's not going to work. So.
Unless you're betting it straight, you're costing yourself money long term. You don't want to go 6 over 2-7. You got to inject the price in there somewhere, especially if you're putting the 6 on top. I mean, my issue with Ewing, and this is just like a Somich handicapping thing. 1 of 5 horses in the first race, 1 of 4 horses in the second race, no pressure in the second race, and was slowing down in that final furlong at 6.5. I'm worried that now in a race with significantly better competition and more horses, we're going to see a different version of Ewing, and not necessarily in a good way, especially breaking from the outside with a horse that I'm worried may need the lead for me. So that was the main difference for me with Ewing. I think you're accurate, though. I think he is more talented than what we saw in that second race. I just don't know how much more talented, and I feel like Big Dom has a big opportunity to step forward second time out.
Yep, makes total sense. I think there's positives and negatives you could take. I won't be shocked at all if Ewing runs 4th or 5th because it's like, yeah, that wasn't very good last time out. It's just with these 2-year-olds, they are a little bit erratic, right? We know that. So I don't know. All that hype and how good that horse looked, I just kind of think maybe they wheeled him back too quick. I don't know. I think he'll run okay here.
It's going to be a fun one from Keeneland. If you're looking to bet that race or any of the stakes races that we cover this weekend, head over to firstbet.com. We've got a brand new offer that ends on October 5th. So this Sunday, this offer ends here. VSiN and First Bet have teamed up with a new special offer here. Open and deposit into a First Bet account and get up to a $250 sign-up bonus with promo code VSiN250. If you then place $100 worth of wagers in your first 30 days, you'll unlock a full year of VSiN Pro, a $240 value. If you're already a VSiN subscriber, don't worry. We'll extend your subscription for another year. Again, this offer ends Sunday, October 5th, so do not wait. It ends this weekend. To claim this special offer, use promo code VSiN250 when you sign up on the First Bet app or at firstbet.com. That's the number 1, STBET.com. Make sure you use the code VSiN250. It's not only $50 better than the stock offer that you'll find on the website, it also unlocks a year of VSiN Pro when you bet just $100 over there on our friends at First Bet. All right, let's stay on the Saturday card. And let's go one race earlier here. Race number 8, the Grade 1 First Lady. You kind of teased this one in the intro here. It's a mile race over the turf course for the ladies. Fun race here as well. We got Choice back. We got Requia back. Dynamic pricing is 4-1 here on the Express Bet morning line as your favorite. This is a very fun race on opening weekend from Keeneland and a very competitive race with 12 horses heading postward. Where are you going on top, Aaron?
Yeah, this is a mess, right? What a day of racing.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, it's a mess for sure, but it is a great day of racing and a great betting race here. I made a case for like 15 and 20 to 1s all day long when I was handicapping this.
Yep.
Look, I'm between the 10 and the 11. The 10, Ozara, the 11, Great Generation. I'm going to put one of those 2 on top. I kind of made the decision right before we went on the air, to be honest. It took a couple hours to handicap this. I ended up going number 10, Ozara, on top in this spot. I just kind of like that, 3 out of 6 lifetime at the distance, 2 straight victories. I think it's in very, very good form. Miguel Clement, taking over for his father, Christophe Clement's done a very, very good job. So I like Ozara just a little bit more in this spot. I like that, tactical speed. We don't have to get to the front and maybe get worn down. We can kind of sit 4th or 5th and be okay. It doesn't have to come from way out of the clouds. So I took the 10 Ozara. I almost picked the number 11, Great Generation as well, a horse that is 20-1. I don't know this horse will be 20-1. A European horse that, 3 races back was winning a grade 3 event. A 6 and 7 furlong type of runner going a mile. That was kind of the big question mark for me, but I thought 20-1 was a crazy price on the 11, but I ended up going number 10 on top.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 11. I think that is a very interesting long shot. But I got to say, good pick. Number 10, Ozara for me as well in this spot. I can't get that Boston spot out of my head. I mean, that was a race where it was an interesting race because there were 2 different divisions of the De La Rose. And Ozara won one of those at Saratoga earlier in the meet. And you're kind of like, okay, which one is the better version? Well, let me tell you, it was the one with Ozara in it because that Boston Spa win was so impressive. I don't think that the paper even tells the full story. Obviously gets a great buyer, 98 career best there, but just dominated. Didn't really get asked all that much by Dylan Davis and just ran right on by. I love the tactical speed here. This horse can make its own trip. Ozara can be forward. Ozara can tuck in. Ozara can close. Like, I love the fact that she can basically sit anywhere and be able to make a move. I love the 6-1 price. I'm not sure we get it. That's my biggest concern with Ozara, that we're ending up around that 4-1 level. But we'll see if she takes money on Saturday. I do like the number 10 Ozara quite a bit. So I assume the number 11 is going to be your second choice in here in Great Generation. Then.
Yeah, I just feel like this is a horse that shouldn't be 20-1. Again, the distance is a question mark, but 7 furlongs to a mile, I think it'll translate okay. I think her best races lately, for sure, have been at 7 furlongs, so I like that aspect as well. And just a horse that's got a lot of class coming over from Europe. So I did like the 11 quite a bit in second. Look, I don't want to take a real short price in here, and I think we'll get Ozara at a decent number because I do think dynamic pricing, the 5 horse, is going to take a lot of money. I just didn't want to play this horse at 4-1. I put the horse in third, winner of 3 out of the last 4 races. I get it. It looks pretty darn good, but anytime this horse has really went up against a big-time horse, hasn't been able to get the job done, runs well, and that's why I've got the horse in third, and I think the horse has a shot to hit the board, obviously could win as well. I don't know at this level. I think this might be more of a grade 2 type, and so that's why I put dynamic pricing in third.
Yeah, look, the dynamic pricing makes sense. Horse, I think, is very logical to hit the board. Not one I want to put on top as your very lukewarm favorite here. I was a little interested in the one Choica, specifically because of the Keeneland form. This horse came over, ran first time in the U.S. in the Jenny Wiley Grade 1, and I thought looked awesome in that spot. I liked Excellent Truth and Kehoe Beach moving forward out of that as well. I thought both of them have turned into pretty good horses here, and now we return to the scene of the crime here at Keeneland. But I also wanted to call out one more horse here, and that's one for Graham Motion, the number 7, Hiradia. We talked about this horse shipping over to Santa Anita or Del Mar and how well that Graham Motion does when he sends horses over to California. This horse ran third in the other segment of the De La Rose that was run at Saratoga, and then was the favorite last time out in the Yellow Ribbon. If you go back to the European performances, there's still something here. There is more talent than what has been shown so far in the United States. The fact that Motion decides to ship here to Keeneland in a big spot and step back into the New York, Kentucky turf racing area, I think shows a lot of confidence. And 15-1, I'm happy with that price here as well.
With you, that's one of the 15-1 shots where I'm like, yeah, I could totally see it. I thought ran very, very, very well last time out. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that horse makes a lot of sense. Look, it's kind of going to be on repeat because all these horses, not all of them, but a lot of them, like if somebody made a case for me, I'm going to say back, that does make sense. It's just so wide open when you look at some of these horses that are coming over. Like the number 6 Simmering is one that I want to mention as well. 12-1, and it's like, I get why the horse is 12-1. It's not like a crazy good European form where you see a bunch of wins. This horse is in really tough races. Group 1, ran third in a Group 1, 4 races back, runs well at a mile. Another one, Somich, where I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if this 12-1 shot wins.
Yeah, at Nandadia, the 3 horse, 15-1, 2 for 2 in the U.S. Stepping up for Iggy Corrales here, who wins these type of races, right? So I think that's another one that you can look at as well. Very competitive race here in race number 8 from Saturday at Keeneland, the Grade 1 First Lady. Number 10, Ozara for me. Number 10, Ozara for Aaron as well. 6-1 on the morning line as Well, let's close it out with the Grade 1 Champagne over at Belmont at the Big A on Saturday. Race number 7. 2-year-olds going a 1-turn mile there. And we talked a little bit about the hopeful. We've got some of the hopeful competitors here. We don't have morning lines out, presented by First Bet yet. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say It's Our Time is going to be your favorite in this spot, as the number was huge. This was probably the best debut we saw at Saratoga.
It was, and you just kind of feel like if this horse runs back to anything close to that, he's just better than these horses, right? That race was at 6.5 furlong. Now we stretch out to a 1-turn mile here. So I think he handles it. I had a tough time getting around him. I thought he was super impressive. That debut, I mean, he won by 17 3/4 lengths, and it was so easy. And if you remember, and I cannot remember the horse's name for the life of me, doesn't have it in front of me, but decently by that horse like it was standing still. I'm very excited to see It's Our Time. It was a simple handicap for me. I mean, I was waiting for him to. They kind of been pointing for long. They've got proper spacing. I think It's Our Time is a single in this spot.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to get around It's Our Time. Price is going to be short on this horse. Can I throw one negative at you?
Yes.
Why are the last 3 works at Churchill?
I don't know. I guess because Tom Amos took all his good ones there. I would say that's probably it more than anything else. He is a Kentucky guy. Kind of wonder if he thought about the Breeders' Futurity for a second as well there at Keeneland,
That's exactly what jumped out to me as well, is that you take the horse to Kentucky, you've got the Breeders' Futurity there at a mile and a 16th. Why this race? Why this instead of that? Now, they're both Grade 1s, big purses. Like, I get it. I'm worried this horse, like, long-term, there may be some concerns about the distance. But debuting at 6.5, and I knocked Ewing for the field size. That was a field of 9 that horse beat by 17-plus lengths. It wasn't like it was a field of 3, field of 4. That you had to beat 8 other horses by the length of the stretch, essentially, a pole, as they say. And, I thought that was a very, very impressive performance. Who do you like underneath here? Because we're both going with the chalk here with It's Our Time. Who do you got underneath him?
Yeah, this part of the problem is, too, I just don't like a lot of these horses in this race. It's not very – it feels a lot like they kind of are trying to avoid this horse a little bit, right? Yeah, look, I think you kind of got to go with a little bit of a price. I thought the number 8, Napoleon Solo, made a little bit of sense. Chad Summers is not a guy you see often in these races, but he gets good horses every once in a while. He does a pretty good job. He won a maiden special weight at Saratoga. It was one of those restricted maiden special weights. They run for a little bit less of a purse. Big purchase prices can't run in that race. But he beat horses that probably aren't very good very, very easily. So I'll give him credit for that one, a 5 1/4 length victory. I think he'll be 6, 8 to 1 in this spot. Maybe that's kind of the one underneath that makes a little bit of sense. So I had the number 8 Napoleon Solo in second. Past that, I just don't love a lot of these horses. I thought Stradale, the 2-horse, maybe it's still a maiden, so maybe he could get the job done in this spot. But yeah, I didn't like much in here.
I kind of agree with you. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't even want to try and beat It's Our Time, is because I don't think that there is all that much behind him in this spot. I have no idea what the price on a lot of these other horses is going to be, because I don't know what the price on It's Our Time is going to be, which could be literally 2 to 5 in this race. This is one of those where if you think you're getting even money, you're crazy. Like, go find a fixed odds market that's offering it. If it's even money or better, just back up the Brinks truck here. I'm going to go with one of my favorite handicapping styles. When you're not sure and you kind of like one horse and there's another horse that's been very close to it, just use the 2 of them underneath the horse that you really like here. And I thought that the outside horse here, Talkin, was a little bit interesting for Danny Gargan. Wins on debut, beats Stradale, who you mentioned, who's a $1.3 million purchase, who went to the Steve Ashton barn for Yaupon, who's been a phenomenal sire early in the career there. And Talkin was able to beat that horse. This is a $600,000 good magic horse out of a Tisnow mare. The stretch out and distance should be fine. Won at 7 furlongs on first asking, and did so coming from off the pace, well, not on the outside, which shows some talent, right? When you break from the 3-post and you're able to close at 7 furlongs first time out, it shows that you've got your head on straight. I thought that was a really impressive performance from Talkin. So I will, if I tried to beat It's Our Time, it would be with Talkin. And since that's the case, and Stradale was, a half length, the neck back, I'll go ahead and use It's Our Time over Talkin and Stradale as a try. That was kind of how I came to that realization.
Yep, I like that. I think that makes total sense. I think Yeah, I just think Stradale is a horse. I think there's a little more there to him. I think stretching out in distance is questionable, though, for him. And that's why I went back and I don't really like him that well. I don't know. I like talking. I'm with you, and I could get aboard that one as well. I thought Stick Up Without a Gun, it was a horse that was kind of like, oh, it makes a little bit of sense. Horse that ran in a maiden special weight at second asking and won at Saratoga. But again, the number really didn't come back all that great, and it wasn't that impressive a race. Again, it's you just kind of start repeating yourself, right?
Yep.
Curtain Call definitely has the second best maiden win, without a doubt. But I have a feeling he's so logical as a second choice, he's going to get bet. And then you're in a situation where you're betting the two favorites at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the maiden win was also over a sloppy track, though. And it's a 'tis the lot of an into mischief mare. So the horse is like literally bred to run over the mud. Like that is what that horse wants to do. And so then you get the effort back in the hopeful, which wasn't bad. But it's like, are we sure that, like, if it rains, maybe I like Curtain Call, but if not, do we think that the step forward is logical? And I'm not sure that the step forward is logical on Curtain Call there. All right, Champagne, race number 7, Saturday at Belmont at the Big A. We're not getting creative here. Both of us going with It's Our Time. Aaron likes the number 8 horse, Napoleon Solo, underneath. Give me the 9 Talkin' underneath of It's Our Time. Now, let's move over to the best bets, and I get to kick it off this weekend. We got 2 Friday races at Keeneland, followed by a couple Saturday races at Keeneland. We're going to start out with race number 6 at Keeneland. This is a $120,000 N1X allowance, going a mile on the turf, and I'm going to go to the number 6 horse, In the Stars, who I thought was wildly impressive when you saw that race at Kentucky Downs. We talked about how you had to have speed to be able to win. Well, In the Stars is one of the few horses that closed to win, was 4 lengths back for the majority of the race, and then just makes a sweeping move on the far turn, runs right by everybody, gets the win. Oh, by the way, the second horse won back. The third place horse won back. And that was just the second time on turf for In the Stars. The first time on turf was at Churchill Downs. It was the career high buyer before that race. So I think the turf was the difference, the reason we saw this horse really step forward. So first best bet of the weekend, the number 6 In the Stars, Keeneland race number 6 on Friday. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I think it's between that horse and the Brad Cox runner, and they're the number 2, Here the Queen. I prefer In the Stars. I'm with you on that one. I think that is a very good pick there. Yeah, it should be interesting, too, because you said it, the Kentucky Downs race was really good, but that race, the Colonial was decent enough to think that this horse is going to run well.
Yeah, that's the key, right? If you have the idea, then the question is, okay, can I point to some race in the back that validates the idea that you have that the horse is going to do well? And in this case, I feel like I do have a race I can point to. All right, let's fast forward 2 races here. Race number 8 on Friday's Keeneland card is your first best bet.
Yeah, it's a Jessamine Stakes. Great to have been here for the fillies on the turf, 2-year-old fillies on the turf. Number 12, Time to Dream, going to be the pick for me in this spot. I absolutely loved the race last time out at Saratoga. The P.G. Johnson was able to win by 5 lengths. Looked very, very good doing it. Also won on debut as well at Saratoga in a maiden special weight. So been facing good company, been running super well. And like I said, the P.G. Johnson, I was super impressed with that horse. So had this one circled, ready to kind of bet again. This is the spot I kind of thought would be at. Here she is. So I do like the number 12, Time to Dream, quite a bit. Only negative is the post position, but this horse does kind of fall out of it. So I'm not quite as worried about it. So I think number 12, Time to Dream, is going to be tough in this one.
Yeah, you got the right jockey, right? You want Irad or Pratt on this horse because, like you said, this is going to be a deep closer. You need the pace to set up. There's plenty of pace in here, so I don't think that's a big issue. The post, to me, is a little bit of a problem, but just drop back, make one run, hope you're good enough, and see what happens here. I've got the 12 in second. I had the 9 Infinite Sky in first here, 5-1 for Brad Cox. Similar idea behind the Kentucky Downs, one of the few horses that closed, and the race prior kind of backed up that you could see the horse be able to do that when that was at Ellis. But I do like the 12 here as well in Time to Dream, Aaron's first best bet of the weekend. All right, for me, I'm going to go to race number 7 on Saturday for my second best bet. This is the Thoroughbred Club of America, 6 furlongs over the dirt. And our old friend, Vava, is back. Run a Keeneland 3 times, 1 win, 2 seconds. She's 7-5. I do like her on top, but we're not going to pick a 7-5 as the best bet. I don't do that. We're going to play a cold exacta here because I do think the number 2 horse is awfully interesting in Long Neck Paula. This is a horse that we'll call it a choppy career to start off. We saw a ton of talent in the debut, then kind of didn't fire at Saratoga, came back and got better, and it's been up and down, back and forth. The race 2 back in the Jersey Girl I thought was a very good race where she gets run down by Indy Bay late, jumps up to the Prioress, and I just felt like she got a little cooked in that race, went too fast, too early off the layoff. Now you get second off the layoff here over a racetrack that she likes with a win in a second in 2 starts, and the 6 furlongs, I think, also a good distance for her. I think Vava runs her down, but I think Vava's the only one that runs her down. So cold 5-2 exacta for me in the Thoroughbred Club of America, Keeneland race number 7 on Saturday.
Yeah, we see it the exact same way. You're not going to go against Vava at Keeneland at this point, or really Churchill Downs either. Horse pretty good. Funny, I think it was 2 races back to that race at Churchill. She looked so good, and then they went to Charlestown and didn't look as good. But that's just kind of one of those things. Charlestown's a weird place. But yeah, I like Vava quite a bit. I'm with you too. I think along that Paula gets the lead and gets ran down late by Vava. So I like the idea.
Yep, hopefully gets a little value out of a 7-5. Trying to make a 7-5 turn into a 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, somewhere in that range. Like playing those cold exactas if I do like the favorite to try and create some value in a race where, like you said, I think Long Night Paula loose out front. All right, second best bet for Aaron. I think this might be the first time you've done this. You're going back to one of the feature races here of the weekend. You're so excited about our boy Diego.
Yeah, I am. I really was. As soon as I saw he was in this race, I got very excited. So I am going to go back to the Turf Mile there at Keeneland, race 10 on Saturday, and go with number 4, Diego Velasquez. You said it too. It's just a horse that we were really excited about, and I think for me, it was more of, oh, great, he's finally coming this year when it was talking about last year's Breeders' Cup and he had to scratch. And so when I saw him entered here, I was just like, look, if I was excited to bet him at the Breeders' Cup, I'm excited to bet him here at Keeneland. You know what I mean? So yeah, Diego Velasquez for me, super excited. That'll be my second best bet. The other reason for a repeat, a lot of the other horses I really, really like are going to be really, really short. I didn't want to do It's Our Time. I like a horse on Friday at Keeneland in the feature race, but I think 2-5 is what she'll probably be. So I just kept back and I was thinking, you know what? Diego Velasquez is not going to be 7-2. I do think is going to be decent enough. And if I really, really love a horse and I think maybe we'll get 8-5, 7-5, that's for me. So give me number 4, Diego Velasquez in the 10th at Keeneland.
It is an interesting multi-race sequence weekend at Keeneland because there are some standouts. And you kind of have to decide, do I want to press and play a $5 pick 5 and just pick 1 or 2 horses in every single race and press my opinion? Or do I want to try and pick the valuable favorites, the ones that I think can win, single there, or maybe single against a favorite that you think is weak to try and be able to create some more value inside those tickets? So structuring going to be very interesting for both the Friday and Saturday card at Keeneland because you are going to have some shorter prices in there. If you're looking to bet Keeneland or any other track this weekend, make sure you head over to firstbet.com. That's number 1, STBT.com. VSiN 250 is your promo code. Bet $100 in the first 30 days, and you get a year of VSiN Pro as well. Before we go, Aaron, got to give it a golf clap. Good job by you, Caesars. First book to offer lines here on the Breeders' Cup Classic as those flashed up. They are currently available over there on their app, Aaron. And we have Sea Sovereignty installed at plus 160 as your favorite. Sierra Leone, the second choice, at plus 450. Fierceness at 6-1. Journalism 9-1. Mindframe and Baeza 10-1. You can get 12-1 on Antiquarian or Forever Young. Our friend Nevada Beach jumps in at 20-1. Then Nisos, not sure if he's running, is 25-1. And it falls down from there. If I gave you 100 Mike bucks, where are you going with the current prices?
Well, I wouldn't take Sovereignty right now at plus 160 because I think he'll be around that the day of the race. So I don't want to take the liability of a month of can he get there and will he be 100% healthy at the price I could get the day of. I could just bet him. So he would not be one, even though I'm pretty confident he's going to win. I'm looking for value in like this, and I think Fierceness at plus 600, that's 6-1. I think that makes sense. I think he'll be bet down more than that the day of the race. I just think 6-1 on him makes the most sense out of this group because look, we know his best race is probably, maybe it doesn't beat Sovereignty, but it could. And his worst is going to be terrible as we know, but you're getting 6-1. So you can swallow that, risk, right? He's the one for me.
Yeah. I'm interested to see on race day who the second choice is. I'm not sure I agree it's going to be Sierra Leone, who's currently listed as the second choice in here. I wanted to take someone longer. I wanted to look down the board and look at someone and, maybe make a case for Nisos, although I don't know if he's actually going to run. Antiquarian at 12-1, Forever Young at 12-1, I think are at least a little interesting, but not uninteresting enough from a number perspective for me. It was fierceness as well at plus 600 if I was going to take anybody right now in this market. I do think, like, when you're betting these, and you mentioned it, there is a run-up to the Breeders' Cup still. Something could happen. Some of these horses may not end up in the gate, so you want to bet a horse that you are going to get a better price than what you'll get on that Breeders' Cup Saturday. When I look at, like, Antiquarian, when I look at Forever Young, I think you're going to get around 12-1. I think that is right around the price. And when I look at, Sierra Leone, you're definitely getting 4.5-1. To me, Fierceness is the one horse that I'm not sure you get 6-1 on. I think that horse gets bet down after that performance in the Pacific Classic and what we saw in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. So I am simpatico with you, man. Give me Fierceness 6-1 with the free 100 Aaron bucks.
Oh, well, I didn't give it to you, so you'll have to use your own. That's the difference between you and I. I'm not just throwing that money out there like that. No, you made a good point. Like, Mindframe was one that I have, like, some slight interest in, but I think he'll be 10-1 the day of the race. So I don't know why I would bet it. You know what I mean? He may even be a little bit higher because he's a horse that, when you look at the past performances for the Breeders' Cup, Mindframe hasn't finished a race since June, right? It wasn't his fault, but still, that is a fact. And so you're going to want a little bit more than that. Yeah. So we see it the same. Let me ask you this. I know you don't love betting favorites, but what do you think? Sovereignty at this point, to me, I think that is day of the race. I think that is a fair price on him based on my thoughts on him winning the race.
Yeah, I want to say no.
Okay,
but you're probably right. I want to say, like, no, you don't want to take, because we talked about this race and how we think this is one of those fields that could be like an all-time field, and then it's like, but we like the favorite, right? And that kind of forces you to say Sovereignty is an all-time horse, and maybe he is. I hope we get the 4-year-old season that we have been promised to this point. We'll see if it actually happens here, because I do want to see what this horse grows into and what the legacy could become for Sovereignty, especially if he's able to win the Breeders' Cup Classic here. But yeah, look, I don't know if I drop a win bet in him at that price, but I will definitely have some pick fives pressed through him. I'll put it that way, where I'll have a $5 ticket that ends in a Sovereignty as a single. And I'm not going to go very deep in the race either, which is, I think, the other way, where if you're talking to me and you're asking how much you like a horse, the best answer to that is, do I press through them in a pick five, and do I go deep in that leg? And if I don't, then I like the horse, and that's probably going to be Sovereignty in that spot, despite the price. I think you get a little more value when you're playing the pick fours and pick fives with him than necessarily a flat win bet. That's going to do it for us here at VSiN at the Track, a Keeneland edition as we open up for this weekend. Again, thank you to our sponsors, First Bet over at firstbetracing.com. Make sure over to head to firstbet.com. VSiN promo code 250 there if you want to get the free year of VSiN Pro. Shout out to Matt Deutsch, our super producer, who's able to put all the graphics in here and make us look pretty. And Aaron Halterman, I appreciate you, man. Good show by you. Stick with us here, VSiN at the Track. We'll catch you again next weekend. Good luck with all your bets.
This is VSiN at the Track.